Ambassador Kim Nari walked through the cold metal halls of the Galactic Council station. Her shoes made soft clicking sounds on the polished floor. She had been Earth's voice here for 5 years. Today felt different. The alien representatives looked at her with strange eyes. Some seemed angry. Others looked like they were hiding something. The main council chamber was huge. Hundreds of different alien species sat in their special seats. Each species looked very different from humans. Some had blue skin. Others had tentacles instead of arms. A few looked like giant insects. They all had one thing in common. They all thought humans were dangerous. Kim Nari took her seat in the human section. It was much smaller than the others. Humans only had 3 votes in the entire council. The Vextai had 50 votes. The Mordun had 40. Even the small Kiptar species had 10 votes. Humans were treated like children who could not be trusted. The council will now vote on Resolution 4471, announced the speaker. The speaker was a tall, thin alien with gray skin and 4 arms. This resolution deals with the human problem. Kim Nari felt her heart stop. Human problem? She had not heard about any resolution about humans. She pressed her communication device. What resolution? She asked her aide back on Earth. We are checking now, came the reply. We received no advance notice. Counselor Vextai stood up. He was the leader of the most powerful alien race. His people looked like large lizards with purple scales. He spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. Fellow council members, Vextai began. For 300 years we have allowed the humans to live among us. We have given them planets to settle. We have shared our technology. We have tried to civilize them. Kim Nari felt anger rising in her chest. Civilize them? Humans had been peaceful for 3 centuries. They had followed every rule. They had never started a war. But the humans refused to learn. Vextai continued. They still think like the violent animals they once were. Last month, human settlers on Kepler 442b refused to give up their mining rights to the Zefkol. They said the land was theirs by right. This kind of thinking is dangerous. Several alien representatives made sounds of agreement. Some hissed. Others clicked their tongues. The humans must be relocated, Vextai announced. For the safety of all civilized species, we propose moving all human populations to designation planet K7. There they can live under proper supervision. Kim Nari jumped to her feet. You cannot do this. K7 is a prison planet. You are talking about enslaving my entire species. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to her. She could feel the weight of their stares. Some aliens looked shocked that she had spoken without permission. Others looked angry. Vexthai's yellow eyes fixed on her. Ambassador Kim, your species forgets its place. You are pets who have learned to speak. Amusing, but still pets. This decision is for your own good. The vote was quick. 437 votes for relocation. 3 votes against. Only the humans voted against their own imprisonment. Kim Nari felt numb as she walked back to her quarters. Her hands shook as she tried to call Earth. The communication was blocked. She tried again. Still blocked. They had cut her off from her home world. Her door chimed. She opened it to find Dr. Park Ji-won standing in the hallway. Park was supposed to be on a research mission in the outer systems. Her face was pale and her eyes were red from crying. Kim, we need to talk, Park whispered. Not here. Too many ears. They walked to the observation deck. Through the large windows, they could see stars stretching into infinity. Park checked for listening devices with a small scanner. When she was sure they were alone, she spoke. The colonies are gone, Park said quietly. What do you mean gone? Tau Ceti, New Busan, Hope Station. All of them, Park's voice broke. 70,000 people. The council said they died from solar radiation. They said it was an accident. Kim Nari felt cold. You do not believe it was an accident? I was there, Park said. I saw the radiation patterns. This was not natural. Someone used weapons. Military-grade plasma bombardment. The kind only council ships carry. They killed our people? They have been killing our people for years. Any colony that gets too independent? Any settlement that refuses to follow orders? They make it look like accidents, diseases, natural disasters, equipment failures. Kim Nari stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human families were living normal lives. They did not know that their own government was planning to put them in cages. They did not know that other humans had already been murdered. How many know? Kim Nari asked. A few dozen. Scientists, ship captains, people who have seen too much. Park handed her a small data chip. Names, evidence, proof of what they have done. Kim Nari took the chip. It felt heavy in her hand. Heavier than it should have been. This small piece of metal contained the evidence of genocide. What do we do? She asked. Park looked out at the stars. I have been asking myself that question for months. I think I finally have an answer. What? We stop being good pets. On the other side of the station, Captain Lee Minho was having his own dark revelation. His ship had just returned from New Shanghai Colony. What he had found there would haunt him forever. The official report said equipment failure had caused the life support to fail. But Lee Minho had been a ship captain for 20 years. He knew equipment failure when he saw it. This was not equipment failure. The power generators had been sabotaged. The water recyclers had been poisoned. The communication arrays had been destroyed. Someone had wanted everyone on New Shanghai to die slowly. Someone had wanted them to suffer. Lee Minho sat in his captain's chair, staring at the evidence on his personal tablet. Photos of the damage, radiation readings, chemical analysis of the poisoned water. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. This was murder. His communication system beeped. A message from Earth Defense Command. Admiral Choi Dae-hyun wanted to see him immediately. The message was coded with the highest security protocols. Lee Minho had known Admiral Choi for 15 years. They had served together when humans first joined the galactic community. Back then they had believed they were joining something good, something that would help humanity reach the stars. Now Lee Minho wondered if they had just walked into a trap that took 300 years to close. He set course for Earth. Whatever Admiral Lee Choi wanted to discuss, Lee Minho had a feeling it would change everything. Admiral Choi Dae-hyun stood in the secret meeting room beneath Seoul Defense Center. The room had no windows and thick metal walls. No alien technology could listen here. Around the table sat 12 people who would change human history. Captain Lee Minho had arrived 2 hours ago. His face still showed the shock of what he had seen at New Shanghai Colony. Dr. Park Ji-won sat beside him, her data chip containing proof of alien genocide. Ambassador Kim Nari had escaped the council station on a supply ship. She looked tired but determined. We have a problem, Admiral Choi began. For 300 years we have been good citizens of the galaxy. We followed their rules. We accepted their limits on our technology. We let them decide where we could live and how many children we could have. We trusted them. He activated a holographic display. Images of destroyed human colonies appeared in the air. Taocheti, New Busan, Hope Station, New Shanghai, dozens of others. They have been killing us for decades. Any colony that showed too much independence, any settlement that refused to bow down, they made it look like accidents, but we know better now. Dr. Shin Hyeji raised her hand. She was a psychologist who studied human behavior. Admiral, I have been researching the psychological effects of our integration with galactic society. What I found disturbs me. Tell us, Admiral Choi said. The aliens have been changing us, not through force but through subtle manipulation. Our education systems, our entertainment, our social structures. They have been making us soft, making us forget what we really are. She stood and walked to the display. Humans evolved on Earth. Our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Predators, diseases, natural disasters. Ice ages. We survived because we were tough, because we were clever, because we never gave up. The room was silent. Everyone knew Earth's history. Before humans joined the galactic community, they had been warriors and explorers. They had fought their way from caves to spaceships in just a few thousand years. The aliens feared this. Dr. Shin continued. So they convinced us that our natural instincts were wrong. They told us that aggression was evil, that competition was primitive, that we needed to be more like them. Engineer Bae Suman spoke up. They also limited our technology. For 300 years we have been using their designs, their materials, their methods. They told us it was for our own safety. But you have been working on something else, Admiral Choi said. Bae Suman smiled for the first time in months. Yes, I have been building ships the human way. Fast ships, tough ships, ships that can take damage and keep fighting, ships that aliens think are impossible. She activated her own display. The design that appeared made everyone gasp. It looked nothing like the smooth, elegant alien vessels. This ship was angular and brutal. It had thick armor and powerful engines. It looked like it had been built for war. This is the Sol-class destroyer, Bae-Suman explained. It uses human engineering principles. Instead of trying to avoid damage, it is designed to absorb it and fight back. The aliens think this is crazy. They build ships like art sculptures. We build ships like weapons. General Yoon Tae-jun had been quiet until now. He was old enough to remember the early days of human contact with aliens. He had been a young soldier then. I remember when we first met them, he said slowly. They were impressed by our military tactics. Scared even. They had never seen anything like human warfare. We think 3 steps ahead, we adapt. We use our environment as a weapon. He stood and looked at each person in the room. They made us forget how to fight. But fighting is like riding a bicycle. Once you learn, you never really forget. What are you suggesting? Ambassador Kim asked. That we remember who we are, General Yoon replied. That we stop pretending to be something we are not. Dr. Park Ji-won leaned forward. The evidence I collected shows a pattern. They are not just killing random colonies. They are targeting specific types of people, scientists who ask too many questions, soldiers who remember the old ways, artists who create things that seem too human. They are trying to breed the fight out of us, Admiral Choi realized exactly. But they made one mistake. They assumed we would stay sheep forever. Captain Lee Min-ho finally spoke. What do we do? We cannot fight the entire Galactic Council. They have thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, Admiral Choi smiled. It was not a nice smile. Captain, you are thinking like them. You are thinking about fair fights and honor codes. Humans do not fight fair. We fight to win. He turned to General Yoon. How long would it take to train resistance fighters? If we use the old methods? The methods from before we joined the galaxy? 6 months for basic training. A year for special operations? Do it. Start with volunteers from the outer colonies. People who have seen what the aliens really are. Engineer Bae-Suman raised her hand. I can have the first ships ready in 3 months. They will not be pretty, but they will work. How many? Admiral Choi asked. 20 to start. If we can get more resources, maybe 50. 50 ships against thousands. Captain Lee Min-ho shook his head. Dr. Shin Hye-ji laughed. It was a strange sound in the serious room. Captain, you are still thinking like a civilized person. 50 human ships with human crews fighting human-style warfare? The aliens have no idea what they are facing. Admiral Choi looked around the room. These 12 people were about to start a war. A war that could end with humanity extinct or free. There was no middle ground. Before we go further, everyone needs to understand something, he said. If we do this, there is no going back. The aliens will never trust us again. We will be outlaws in the galaxy. Our children will grow up knowing that the universe sees them as monsters. The universe already sees us as pets. Ambassador Kim said quietly. Maybe it is time they remembered that pets can bite. One by one, each person in the room agreed. They would remember what it meant to be human. They would stop being good citizens of a galaxy that wanted them dead. General Yoon Tae-jun began making lists of potential recruits. Engineer Bae-Suman started calculating resource requirements for ship construction. Dr. Park Ji-won began planning a communication network that aliens could not detect. The meeting lasted 8 more hours. When it ended, the participants left one by one. They would return to their normal lives and pretend nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Humanity was waking up. And the galaxy was not ready for what awakened humans could do. In the weeks that followed, strange things began happening across human space. Young people started asking questions about the old days. Artists began creating works that celebrated human achievements instead of alien culture. Scientists started experimenting with forbidden technologies. The aliens noticed but dismissed it as a temporary phase. They had seen human rebellions before. A few harsh punishments usually brought the humans back in line. They had no idea that this time was different. This time, the humans were not rebelling against the system. They were preparing to destroy it. Captain Oh Seung-woo checked his watch for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. His team was hidden in the asteroid field near Kepler Station. The station was a major weapons depot for the Galactic Council. It held enough firepower to destroy a dozen human colonies. Today, humans would steal some of that firepower back. Phoenix team. Report? Oh Seung-woo whispered into his communication device. In position, came the reply from Commander Ryu Jin-woo. His Special Forces team was inside the station, disguised as maintenance workers. They had been there for 2 weeks learning the layout and the guard routines. Eagle team report. Ready, replied Lieutenant Han Sora from her position near the station's power core. Her job was to make sure the lights went out at exactly the right moment. Oh Sungwoo looked at his ship's crew. 12 humans crammed into a modified cargo vessel that looked harmless from the outside. Inside, it carried enough explosives to crack a moon in half. Engineer Bae Suman had outdone herself with this design. Remember, Oh Sungwoo told his crew, we are not here to steal weapons. We are here to send a message. The plan was simple in the way that only human plans could be simple. Get inside, set explosives, wait for the cavalry to arrive, then show the galaxy what human tactical thinking really looked like. Contact, reported sensor operator Kim Mirai. 3 council patrol ships heading our way. Right on schedule, Oh Sungwoo smiled. The aliens were so predictable. They thought like committee members, not like warriors. Every decision had to be discussed and approved. Every action had to follow regulations. Humans thought differently. They adapted. They improvised. They turned their enemies' strengths into weaknesses. Phoenix Team, begin Phase 1, Oh Sungwoo ordered. Inside the station, Commander Ryu Jinwoo and his team moved like ghosts. They had studied alien security for months. The aliens relied on technology instead of instinct. Their sensors could detect weapons and explosives, but they could not detect human creativity. The explosives Ryu's team carried were actually common industrial chemicals. Harmless by themselves, deadly when mixed together in the right proportions. The aliens' computers did not recognize the threat because technically, there was no threat until the last second. Ryu Jinwoo placed the first chemical package near a load-bearing wall. His team placed dozens more throughout the station. To any observer, they were just maintenance workers doing their jobs. Eagle Team, you are clear for Phase 2, Oh Sungwoo transmitted. Lieutenant Han Sora had been working on the power systems for days. She knew exactly which cables to cut and when to cut them. The station's lights flickered once, then went out completely. Emergency lighting kicked in immediately, but it was too late. In those few seconds of darkness, everything changed. The Council patrol ships detected the power failure and moved to investigate. This was exactly what Oh Sungwoo wanted. He needed them close. He needed them overconfident. All teams, Phase 3 begins now, he announced. Commander Ryu Jinwoo's team began mixing their chemicals. The countdown had started. They had exactly 10 minutes before the station became a very large bomb. Oh Sungwoo piloted his ship out of the asteroid field. He appeared on the Council ship's sensors as a harmless cargo vessel having engine trouble. Unknown vessel, this is Council patrol ship Vexmar, came the alien voice over the radio. You are in a restricted area. Identify yourself immediately. This is cargo hauler Busan Dream, Oh Sungwoo replied, making his voice sound panicked. We have engine failure. Requesting immediate assistance, the alien ships moved closer. Oh Sungwoo could see them through his viewports now. Sleek, beautiful vessels that looked more like works of art than warships. The aliens built ships to impress other aliens. Humans built ships to kill things. Busan Dream, prepare to be boarded for inspection, the alien commander ordered. Thank you, Oh Sungwoo said. We are so grateful for your help. The alien ships docked with his vessel. Security teams boarded his ship expecting to find frightened human cargo workers. Instead, they found 12 humans who had spent months training for this exact moment. The fight lasted 30 seconds. The aliens were trained to handle riots and protests. They were not trained to handle humans who fought like their lives depended on it. Because their lives did depend on it. Phoenix Team extraction in 60 seconds, Oh Sungwoo announced. Commander Ryu Jinwoo and his team ran through the station corridors. Behind them, their chemical bombs were beginning to react. The explosions would start small, then build into something spectacular. They reached their escape pods just as the first blasts shook the station. Oh Sungwoo's ship collected the pods and accelerated away from the station at maximum speed. All teams aboard, reported Lieutenant Han Sora. Time to show? Oh Sungwoo looked at his chronometer. 10 seconds. The explosion was beautiful in a terrible way. The weapons depot became a miniature star for exactly 12 seconds. When the light faded, there was nothing left but glowing debris. But the real show was just beginning. The 3 captured council ships had been quickly modified by Oh Sungwoo's crew. Human computer specialists had cracked the alien security codes in minutes. The aliens' own ships were now under human control. This is Captain Oh Sungwoo of the Human Liberation Fleet. He broadcast on all council frequencies. You have made a mistake. You thought we were pets. You thought we were weak. You thought we would accept your genocide quietly. The captured alien ships opened fire on other council vessels in the area, but they did not fire like aliens. They did not target weapons or engines in hopes of disabling their enemies. They fired to kill. Within minutes, 6 more council ships were destroyed. The humans used the aliens' own weapons against them, but they used them in ways the aliens never expected. Consider this your first lesson in human warfare. Oh Xiangwu continued his broadcast. We do not fight for glory. We do not fight for honor. We fight to win, and we will use every trick, every advantage, every dirty strategy we can think of. News of the attack spread through the galaxy in hours. Council representatives were shocked. How had humans destroyed a major military facility with just one small ship? How had they captured 3 patrol vessels without any casualties? The answer was simple, but the aliens could not understand it. Humans thought differently. They planned differently. They fought differently. Councillor Vexthai called an emergency session. This cannot be allowed to continue, he declared. Send the fleet. Destroy them before they can spread their infection to other species. But the council fleet could not find the humans to destroy. Oh, Xiongwu's ship had vanished into the asteroid fields and nebulae where human vessels could hide easily. The alien sensors were designed to track their own smooth, clean ships. They could not track the ugly, angular human vessels that looked like space junk. Commander Ryu Jinwoo was already planning the next attack. There were 17 more weapons depots in this sector. 17 more chances to show the galaxy that humans were done being polite. Dr. Park Ji-won received the battle reports on Earth. She smiled as she read them. The first phase was complete. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy. Now came the hard part. Now they had to prove that the attack was not just luck. They had to prove that humans could fight a real war against impossible odds. Admiral Choi Dae-hyun was already moving pieces into position. Human ships were gathering in secret locations throughout the galaxy. Volunteers were arriving at hidden training camps. Engineers were building weapons that alien minds could not comprehend. The galaxy had been peaceful for 300 years. The aliens had forgotten what war really looked like. They were about to remember, and they were going to learn why Earth was called a death world. Fleet Admiral Song Min-jae stood on the bridge of the HSS Incheon, humanity's first real warship in 3 centuries. Through the viewport she could see the Council's punishment fleet approaching. 47 ships, including 3 massive dreadnoughts. They had come to teach humanity a lesson about respecting their betters. They were about to learn a lesson themselves. Admiral, the alien commander is broadcasting, reported Communications Officer Lee Yuna. Let me hear it, Song Min-jae said. The alien voice was cold and arrogant. Human vessels, this is Fleet Commander Thexmar of the Galactic Council. You have committed acts of terrorism against peaceful civilizations. Surrender immediately and you will be relocated to labor camps instead of being executed. Song Min-jae picked up the communicator. Fleet Commander Thexmar, this is Admiral Song Min-jae of the Human Liberation Fleet. I have a counteroffer. Withdraw from human space immediately and we will let you keep your ships. Laughter came through the communication channel. Admiral Song, you have 12 ships. We have 47. Do the mathematics. I did do the mathematics, Song Min-jae replied. That is why I am offering you a chance to leave. The communication channel went silent. Song Min-jae turned to her tactical officer. Commander Park, are our friends in position? Yes, Admiral. All pieces are on the board. Song Min-jae had spent months studying alien battle tactics. They were predictable to the point of being boring. They formed neat formations. They targeted specific ship systems to disable rather than destroy. They followed rules of engagement that made sense for beings who saw war as a game with rules. Humans saw war as survival, and survival had no rules. Begin Operation Thunderstorm, Song Min-jae ordered. The human ships suddenly scattered in all directions. To the aliens, it looked like panic. Human vessels fled toward asteroids, nebulae, and the gravity wells of nearby planets. It looked like cowardice. It was actually the most sophisticated trap ever laid in space. Commander Ryu Jinwoo watched from his hidden position near the largest asteroid. His Special Forces team had been placing surprises throughout the system for weeks. Mines that looked like space debris, weapons platforms disguised as communication satellites, missile pods hidden in asteroid craters. The aliens chased the fleeing human ships, confident in their victory. Their formations stayed tight and organized. just as their training taught them. Now, Song Minjae whispered. The asteroids exploded. What the aliens thought were natural rocks were actually human-made weapons. Each asteroid contained enough explosives to destroy a battleship. The aliens flew straight into a minefield that their sensors could not detect, because it was made from materials that looked completely natural. 3 alien ships vanished in the first wave of explosions. 5 more were badly damaged. The neat formation broke apart as ships tried to avoid the unexpected threat. That was when the real attack began. The human ships that had appeared to flee suddenly reversed course. But they did not attack the alien ships directly. Instead, they attacked the space around them. Dr. Lee Sunwoo had spent months developing new weapons based on human military philosophy. Instead of trying to punch through alien shields, her weapons changed the nature of space itself. Gravity bombs that crushed ships from the inside, plasma clouds that turned enemy armor into gas, electromagnetic pulses that made alien computers forget how to work. Target the command ships first, Song Minjae ordered. Cut off the head and the body dies. The alien dreadnought Morden's Pride was the largest ship in the Council fleet. Its armor was 3 meters thick. Its shields could stop the energy output of a small star. Its weapons could crack planets. None of that mattered when human missiles phased through normal space and exploded inside the ship's hull. Fleet Commander. Thexmar watched in horror as his flagship began to die around him. The human weapons were impossible. They ignored shields. They bypassed armor. They seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. How are they doing this? He screamed at his science officer. I do not know, Commander. Their technology is completely alien to our understanding. The irony was lost on Thexmar. He was calling human technology alien. Song Minjae smiled as she watched the alien formation collapse. The Council species had been the masters of the galaxy for so long that they had forgotten how to adapt. They kept trying to use tactics that had worked against every other species. But humans were not every other species. Humans had learned to fight on a world where everything wanted to kill them. They had developed strategies for survival that no peaceful species could understand. Admiral, we have incoming communications from multiple alien ships, reported Lee Yuna. They are requesting surrender terms. No surrender, Song Minjae said firmly. They came here to commit genocide. They do not get to quit when the fight turns against them. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 34 alien ships were destroyed or captured. The remaining 13 fled the system, carrying news of humanity's victory to the Council, but the real victory was happening elsewhere in the galaxy. Diplomat Kang Yunji had been secretly meeting with representatives from smaller alien species. Many of them had their own grievances against the Council. The Zefkul had been denied territory rights for decades. The Piptar had been forced to give up their military in exchange for protection. The Nimkol had watched their culture slowly disappear under Council guidance. The humans offer an alternative, Kang Yunji explained to a gathering of alien diplomats. Freedom to develop according to your own nature. No more Council oversight. No more forced compliance with alien values. The meeting was taking place on a neutral station in deep space. Representatives from 23 different species had come to hear what the humans had to offer. Why should we trust you? Asked Ambassador Felnor of the Zefkul. Your species is violent and unpredictable. Because we are offering you something the Council never has, Kang Yunji replied. Choice. The right to succeed or fail based on your own decisions. She activated a holographic display showing the battle reports from the past month. Human forces had won 7 major engagements against Council fleets. They had liberated 4 prison planets. They had destroyed 16 weapons depots and 11 military bases. The Council's power is not absolute, she continued. They rule through fear and manipulation. But fear only works if you believe your oppressor is stronger than you are. Ambassador Felnor studied the battle reports carefully. Your ships are inferior to Council vessels. Your numbers are smaller. How do you keep winning? Because we fight differently, Kang Yunji said simply. We do not follow their rules. We do not accept their limitations. We fight to win, not to prove we are civilized. One by one, the alien representatives began to ask detailed questions. How would a post-Council galaxy work? What guarantees would smaller species have? What would stop the humans from becoming the new oppressors? Kang Yunji had answers for all of them. Humans did not want to rule the galaxy. They just wanted to be free to live in it. They proposed a confederation of independent species, each governing themselves according to their own values. By the end of the meeting, 18 species had agreed to provide intelligence to human forces. 12 had agreed to openly support the human cause. 6 had agreed to contribute ships and personnel to the growing rebellion. The Council's worst nightmare was coming true. They were facing not just a human uprising, but a galaxy-wide revolution. Back on Earth, Admiral Choi Dae-hyun received the reports with satisfaction. The plan was working better than anyone had hoped. The aliens' arrogance had become their weakness. They had assumed that superior numbers and technology would always win. They had never faced an enemy that refused to fight fair. "Sir," his aide reported, "we are receiving surrender offers from 17 Council worlds. They want to negotiate separate peace treaties." Admiral Choi shook his head. "No separate treaties. They all stand together or they all fall together. The Council system dies today or it dies tomorrow, but it dies." The galaxy was changing. For 300 years, the Council had maintained order through strength and fear. Now that strength was proving to be an illusion, and fear was changing sides. Song Min-jae prepared her fleet for the next battle. Somewhere out there, the Council was gathering its remaining forces for a final confrontation. They would bring everything they had. Good. Humans preferred to end fights quickly. President Yoon Myung stood at the podium in the Grand Assembly Hall on New Geneva Station. 6 months ago, this place had been the center of Council power. Today, it would become the birthplace of a new galactic order. Representatives from 237 species filled the vast chamber. Some were former Council members who had switched sides when they saw which way the war was going. Others were species that had been suppressed or ignored for centuries. A few were newly discovered civilizations that humans had found in unexplored regions of space. All of them were here for the same reason. The old galaxy was dead. Today they would decide what the new one would look like. "Fellow beings," President Yoon began, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall. "We gather today not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals. The age of the Galactic Council is over. The age of freedom has begun. A year of war had led to this moment. The final battle had taken place at Vex the Prime, the Council's homeworld. Grand Admiral Park Ji-hoon had led 200 human and allied ships against the last Council fleet. The battle had lasted 3 days and had ended with complete human victory, but victory in war was easier than victory in peace. Now came the hard part, building something better than what they had destroyed. "I know many of you are afraid," President Yoon continued. "For centuries, the Council told you how to live. They made your decisions for you. They solved your problems and settled your disputes. Now that guidance is gone, and you must choose your own path." In the audience, former Councillor Thexmar sat with his head down. He was one of the few Council leaders who had survived the war. The humans had offered him a choice: stand trial for genocide or help build a better galaxy. He had chosen to help, but the weight of his past crimes still haunted him. "The Human Federation proposes a new system," President Yoon announced. "Not a government, but a framework. Not rulers, but protectors. We call it the Galactic Confederation of Free Peoples." Philosopher Han Kyung-soo had spent months crafting the principles of the new order. It was based on human concepts that were revolutionary to most alien species. Individual rights, species sovereignty, the idea that no being should be forced to live according to another being's values. Each species will govern itself, President Yoon explained. Each world will choose its own path. No species will have the right to impose its will on another. No government will have the power to decide how other people should live. Ambassador Felnor of the Zefkol raised one of his forearms. "President Yoon, what happens when species disagree? What happens when conflicts arise?" The Council provided order. "What will you provide?" It was the question everyone was thinking. The Council system had many flaws, but it had prevented major wars for 3 centuries. Without a central authority, how would the galaxy avoid chaos? "We will provide justice," President Yoon replied. Human-style justice. When someone commits a crime, they face consequences. When someone starts a war, they lose it. When someone tries to oppress others, they get stopped. She gestured to the viewing screen that showed the human fleet stationed around New Geneva. Sleek ships that could move faster than anything else in space. Tough ships that could absorb incredible damage and keep fighting. Ships crewed by beings who had learned warfare on a world that tried to kill them every day. The Human Federation will serve as the galaxy's immune system, President Yoon announced. We will not rule anyone. We will not impose our values on anyone, but we will stop anyone who tries to impose their values on others. Grand Admiral Park Ji-hoon had made this promise real. Human fleets were positioned throughout the galaxy, ready to respond to any threat. They were not occupying forces. They were protection forces. The difference mattered. But strength alone is not enough, President Yoon continued. We must also build prosperity. We must create opportunities. We must help all species reach their full potential. Engineer Bae Suman had been working on this problem for months. Her teams had analyzed the technology and resources of every species in the galaxy. The council system had been incredibly wasteful. Species were forbidden from developing certain technologies because they might become too dangerous. Resources were allocated based on political considerations rather than need. Under the new system, every species would have access to the full range of galactic technology. They could develop according to their own priorities and capabilities. They could trade freely with anyone they chose. The humans will share their technology with all who want it, President Yoon announced. Our faster-than-light communications, our defensive systems, our medical advances. Everything we have learned, we offer freely to all. This promise caused murmurs throughout the assembly hall. The humans had developed incredible technologies during their war with the Council. Weapons that could destroy planets. Ships that could travel between galaxies. Medical treatments that could extend life for thousands of years. And they were offering to share all of it. Why? Asked Ambassador Morkol of the Piptar. Why would you give away your advantages? President Yoon smiled. Because advantages only matter if you are planning to fight. We are not planning to fight, we are planning to live. The discussion that followed lasted for 6 days. Every species presented their concerns and demands. Some wanted guarantees that their traditional ways of life would be protected. Others wanted assurance that they would not be punished for their past support of the Council. The humans listened to everything. They negotiated. They compromised. They showed a patience that surprised many aliens who had expected the violent Deathworlders to impose their will by force. On the 7th day, the vote was taken. The Galactic Confederation of Free Peoples was approved by a margin of 212 to 25. Dr. Park Ji-won watched the celebration from the observation deck of the station. Beings from dozens of species were talking and laughing together. Many of them had never spoken to each other before the war. The Council had kept species separated, ruling through division. Hard to believe it is over, said Captain Lee Min-ho, joining her at the viewport. It is not over, Dr. Park replied. It is just beginning. Building is harder than destroying. And we just promised to help build a civilization for 237 different species. Do you think we can do it? Dr. Park thought about the question. A year ago, humanity had been facing extinction. They had been pets in a galaxy that saw them as dangerous animals. Now they were the protectors of galactic freedom. We are humans, she said finally. We survived ice ages and meteor impacts. We built cities on a world covered in deserts and volcanoes. We learned to fly by throwing ourselves off cliffs until we figured out how wings work. She gestured at the celebration happening throughout the station. Compared to surviving on Earth, building a peaceful galaxy should be easy. Captain Lee Min-ho laughed. When you put it that way, it sounds almost boring. Oh, it will not be boring, Dr. Park assured him. There will be wars. There will be disasters. There will be new threats that we cannot imagine. But that is what humans are for. We are the species that thrives on impossible challenges. As if to prove her point, Admiral Choi Dae-hyun's voice came over the station communication system. All senior staff to the Situation Room immediately. We have received a distress signal from the Andromeda Galaxy. Unknown hostile forces attacking civilian populations. Response fleet to launch in 6 hours. Dr. Park and Captain Lee Min-ho looked at each other and grinned. The galaxy had been at peace for exactly 3 days. That might be a new record. They headed for the Situation Room where they would plan humanity's first intergalactic military operation. Just another day in the life of the species that had decided to stop playing nice. Behind them, through the viewport, the stars stretched into infinity. Somewhere out there, new challenges were waiting, new threats to face, new problems to solve. Humanity had spent 300 years learning to be civilized. Now they would spend the next 300 years teaching the universe what civilization really meant. The galaxy was big enough for everyone to be themselves, but it was not big enough for anyone to prevent others from being themselves, and humans would make sure it stayed that way.